Oh, is it a hot one today? Hot and miserable. And you can bet on those days when you're looking for shade, the bass are going to be doing the same thing. You know, they're heading up into thick cover just to get out of that sun, take advantage of the shade. It'll be a little bit cooler, and it also works really well for ambush. But when the fish are in this really thick cover, a lot of people get intimidated by it. Like the pads you can see in behind me, it's really thick. It's unfortunate that it's so intimidating because it's such a great canopy. And a lot of anglers will look for those openings in the pads where they can throw frogs through and make easy casts. But sometimes the bass are up under there and they are not in the mood to move. And so you have to get into them. And that's where pitching and flipping come into their own. Whether you opt for a jig or a Texas rig, you have to be able to get down to those fish through that heavy canopy. So when it comes to heavy cover, my bait of choice has always been the Texas rig. Got a nice heavy tungsten weight, in this case 3/4 ounce. You may have to go heavier depending on the cover that you're throwing it into. And then a soft plastic like this Bronco Bug, and then a stout flipping hook like this Red Line from BMC. So when you're flipping into big pads like these guys, this is where new anglers will often have difficulties. The problem being is just in the structure of the lily pad itself. They all have this split right here in the middle, and inevitably when you flip out, your bait will run into that and then pull tight, and now you're stuck. It's wedged in there. And what new anglers often do is yank, 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 and they will either wreck their plastic, they'll pull the hook through, and now you're dragging and cutting all the way back. But it's also disturbing the area, and you can spook fish when doing so. So what do? You just have patience. See, when you have your bait slide up into here, it's just a matter of taking your line, reeling down tight, and pulling nice and slow. And what happens is this pad will bend over, and you can see it right there, out pops your bait. It's really, really simple. And the nice thing is it's subtle enough that you can often fish an area and not disturb or spook the fish while you do that. Of course, there are things you can do to decrease the level of frustration, because you will get caught in a lot of pads when you're fishing them. But a couple things. One, use a streamlined bait, not something that's really fat and wide and then has what we call shoulders, really wide here. You want this to be able to slide through easily. The next thing is don't expose your bait. You don't want the hook point coming through and sitting exposed on this side, because the plastic moves. You're in heavy cover and it will move the plastic. So bury that point and be ready to set the hook hard to get that hook point through the plastic and into the bass. Man, it's so hot I had to take a break. My camera shut off because of the heat. So the last thing I'll leave you with, whether you believe in fish scents or not, it really doesn't matter. If you spray on a good natural oil-based scent onto your plastics, not only will it increase the chances of attracting fish or keeping fish from letting your bait go, but more importantly, it's going to create a slick surface that's going to allow those baits to slide through the pads easier than ever. And it can make all the difference in the world, because when your bait gets wet and lands on top of one of those pads, it sticks like glue. And that's where this oil will allow it to slide right off. So when you get stuck in the split of a pad, like I am right now, it's just a matter of reeling down, pointing your rod at it, and pulling nice and slow, and there it pops right out. The nice thing is that it creates no disturbance, and you continue to fish knowing that you haven't spooked any of the bass in the vicinity. Catching big fish in heavy cover isn't always a sure thing, but it happens. So take these few tips and tricks, and hopefully you can apply them to put a few more of these in your boat this year. Yeah, I know it doesn't always happen that way, but it did today, so I was gonna use it. Cut me some slack, would you?